Raised Rowdy.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Raised Rowdy Podcast. And my name is Kurt Ozan.
I'm Nick Tressler.
And we have our most esteemed guest, Mr. Clint Black. Welcome to the podcast.
I tell you, these guys are lying. I'm here in person with them, and this is Bobby Joe and Larry Lou. And I don't know. I had to think hard quick to come up with your names.
Yeah.
Just like to start off by insulting you. And
Yeah.
calling you liars.
This could be our fictional names in our upcoming podcast movie that we have.
That's smart.
Yeah.
You know.
Thanks for coming in. This is incredible.
Thanks
What an
for
honor to
having
have
me.
you. We've got your book here. Congrats.
Show that to everybody.
Yeah, I
Oh,
will.
people can't see it.
Yeah. Look at
I
that.
keep thinking I'm in radio.
Not
Since
anymore.
we're here, would you mind signing it?
No, I don't do autographs. I'm over that.
I believe
right.
that you do autographs, and we looked online. I think the autograph ones are sold out.
Are they?
on the
No.
one
so?
website. There's
no,
more.
No. There's.
I think you were looking on the wrong website.
I just signed 800 more.
Okay, there you go. Well, go online and get an autograph copy.
Yeah.
For
Should
sure.
I just sign it, or do you want me to put it to
You can just write your name. That's fine.
both of you guys?
Yeah. We have to figure out. We have to cut it in half and see who gets to keep it.
I'll let Kurt keep it. He has way more books than I have. Yeah. Well, he's pre-ordered the regular one, so I'll get the regular one.
There you go.
Yeah.
I've gotten
you,
really good at my signature.
Good.
If all these years in the music business didn't do it, this did.
Oh, yeah.
There's thousands of them I've done.
Oh, I can't
Yeah.
believe it.
Yeah.
This is incredible. Thank you so much for coming in. Like I said, Nick and I were kind of musing earlier. It'd be nice if all of our podcast guests would write books because it makes the interview a lot easier.
Well,
Yeah.
you can know things about us.
Yes, I feel like I know you now, and I just met you this time. But let's just dive right into the book.
Okay.
What
There-
prompted you to write a book now, of all times?
It was money. They offered me money.
There you go.
No.
Easy. I would do the same. Yeah, why not?
No, there's a lot more money in singing. I can tell you right off. If you're thinking about writing a book, you might want to think about being a singer. You know, I'm half kidding because it's nowhere near the reason I would write a book. You know, it wasn't something I wanted to do. It wasn't something I thought I could do. But my team of geniuses, they got in a couple of bullies from a literary agency, and they ganged up on me and said, "You should do this. You can do this. And by God, people will love this." And I believed them. They convinced me I could do it, and they would get me some help. Craig Shelburne is the help, and I've been telling these stories to my wife and now our daughter for years, and you know the number of times Lisa said to me, you know, you should write a book. You should write these stories down. You should get these stories. And her sister would say that, and I would laugh and laugh. And, you know, you need to know how to spell if you're gonna do a book.
Well, now we got, spell check, whatever, to help you out. If there's one theme I think that I found when I was reading this book, it's just like when you put your mind to doing something, you do it. And it's like, obviously music, but then it's like directing your music videos or building the content for your concerts or all these things that aren't music that you just have never done before. And then you decide, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do stand-up comedy. I'm going to do TV. I'm going to do movies. I'm going to write and produce. It just seems like whatever you put your mind to, you just have like an ability to like laser focus and just get it done. And so I guess writing a book is probably similar thing in that vein.
Yeah, I had to work really hard, all kidding aside, on the book, and to the point of headaches, you know, just from spending so much time in front of the computer screen, 10, 11 hours a day. And I have always, and I said in the book, and I told my dad, you know, I was afraid he thought I was lazy because I thought I was lazy. And, but I think when you're doing something you love to do, even if it's stuff you don't know how to do, it's easier to work hard. When I was an iron worker, didn't like working that hard. But that's a great compliment. You know, if I put my mind to it, I can do it. You know, and my attitude for that is that I don't know. It may not be better or worse than anyone else would have done it. like if I hired someone to do all the video for my stage video screen, you know, they could have done a better job, but I don't think it would have been as personal. It wouldn't have probably fit the songs as well as I might be able to do it. Because as I'm going through looking for clips, you know, I'm playing that section of the song over and over and over in my head as I look at every clip, and it was 10 hours a day of that for weeks and weeks to compile all the footage that might work. And halfway through it, I realized I really wished I had gotten someone else to do it because it was so hard.
I know it's like you talking about what codecs you were using in the book. I'm like, oh wow, he was like in it. Yeah.
Yeah. H.264, baby.
Yeah, there you go. And because I've done a little bit of like photography, and I've done a couple of music videos also. Just shot them for friends, and I know how much of a pain in the ass it is. And so like in my head, I'm like, at some point, you just have people to do stuff for you. Mm-hmm. But it's like when you're working on your art and your vision of how you want to be portrayed to your fans, it's like, what's more personal than that? It's like you want to have your hands in it. You know?
Yeah, and knowing. Feel like I know my audience, and being on that stage for all these years, what's going on behind us could be distracting or it could be enhancing. And so, you know, I think I can do a good job of knowing what that is. And I thought, you know, I asked my manager, what does it cost to hire somebody to do that? And he said, oh, I think it's, you know, like $100,000 to $300,000. And I went, oh, I'll do it.
Yeah,
I'll do it for that. I thought I'm saving money, but you know, really, it was about my sensibilities and what the relationship is with that, and I thought also if they do it, I'm still going to have to do a lot of work to tell them what I like and don't like. So it's going to be this turning in of stuff and change this. I'm very particular. So, and I understand editing from doing music videos. So, you know, I can get too involved. You know, it's like being a lyricist and knowing when a drum pattern works with the lyric. You know, that's not going to work. So I thought I'm gonna work just as hard either way. It's not true. It would have been a lot easier to get someone else to do it. It's just crazy how, I don't know how deep you want to go into the craziness of it.
Let's go.
Yeah. But it was, when you're doing the lyric in your head, looking for clips, and you're basically compiling a board, you know, for this song of 100 or 200 clips that you're going to think about. And then when you decide on the clips, now I've got a track of us playing the song live in the sequence window, you know?
Yeah, the timeline or whatever.
Yeah. So now I'm putting together this part of the song. So now I'm listening to a board tape over and over and over of this section as I put something in, as I edit it, as I do, you know, transitional stuff. And the brain, you know, at the end of a day of that, you know, Lisa will be talking to me, and I'll be looking at her, and she'll be saying something, and what I'm thinking is, I bet it all on a good run of bad luck. I'd bet it all on a good run of bad luck. I'd bet it all on a good run of bad luck. What did you say? What did she say? And I would just tell her, I can't focus. I can't focus on anything other than whatever I was repeating, looping in my head. And it was insane. It was torture.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, editing video is, I understand why these video editors make so much money. 'Cause it's so
That's
much
what I
work.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
I remember like watching people do that for backdrops. I worked at a record label in town for a while, and watching someone do that. And I came in at the beginning of the day, and they were working on it, and I came at the end of the day, and they were working on it. I'm like, how much you get done? He's like, got about 2 songs done today. I was like, whoa.
When we, you know, comping vocals, right? I can comp my own vocals. You know, I sing the song 15 times to choose my favorite. You know, and it can be just down to the word, and that's not working at that overlap. And if you lay on the couch and listen to your engineer comp vocals, it's like watching someone edit a video. I don't know how you can do that over and over and over. and just sit in front of the screen and just hear that thing going over and over and over and over. And, who you become after you're done with that is something for the psychiatry department to deal with, I think.
I totally agree with that. We have a friend, Charlie, that did a lot of the audio if we recorded something. And his now wife, Jamie, was like, I listened to a lot of you guys over and over and over. Because he was doing it kind of out of the living room at that point,
The doing of it for me is a creative.
Totally.
If you want me to build something, if it's for my house and I'm home long enough, I want to do it. I go around and replace, lights and the light fixtures in the garage and stuff like that. I take down a tree in the backyard that died. But outside of that, I don't want to, I don't have the drive to go do other things. I think it's the creative stuff. Yeah. The challenge of acting or directing a music video. I'd never done it, but I had people around me who could do it without me. So they empowered me to be creative while they kept an eye on the technical stuff,
I love that. And honestly, if I'm talking about the theme that I got from the book, reading it, it is that you are an artist, and you are so particular about that. Like you talked about, them trying to get you to cut other people's songs. And I mean, as we know, and as time has told, the songs that you cut are very good songs.
Thank you. Thanks.
So,
well, it's not as big a deal now. I think that they really want to find the singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
In my day, it was a problem.
So crazy. Yeah, I didn't even think about that until I read your book because, we're here in town and that's often the case. Like the artists are at least in the room when the songs are being written, whereas like back then it was, everybody wanted a little piece of money. So they kept their thing going on the biggest stars. So such an interesting thing that I didn't even being here for, years and listening to music forever. Just something I never thought of.
Well, it was hard for me. I had all that success with the first album. Excuse me. And then the second album, wasn't as big as the first album, but it wasn't as well made as the first album. I was on tour. They had me working too much and grabbing me in between. And, but it was still successful. The third album was successful. And so to have anyone coming and saying, well, we need to change the structure of this, to me was just absurd. And aside from it being absurd, I thought, well, I kind of earned this, and that guy who did that deserves to keep his job. And I became, I try to be nice about it, but I was indignant. And I felt like, if this blows up my career, it's the right thing to blow it up for.
Yeah.
And I'd rather die by my own sword than his. Yeah.
Yep. I think that's so important. And, the thing is a machine. I mean, the music industry, I'm sure, is similar to the movie industry. And there's a lot of hands and a lot of pots, right? Still to this day. But I think that is something that you see in the greats. Like I see that same kind of thing in Ella Langley, right? She is so particular about what she's doing, and she wants it the way that she wants it. And in my head,
good.
The people that get to be the biggest stars are often those people,
Yeah, and I think it's important to hear people out around you. What are your thoughts? Why do you want that? And but ultimately, like Joe Galante had a whole host of careers that were a part of his, career. He had all of these various artists. We get one. Mm-hmm. We're it. This is it. So, you kind of feel like, I don't. I have to preface this analogy comparison with, not considering myself comparable to the Eagles or the Beatles or Clapton or anybody like that, Cash and Willie and Waylon and Haggard. But, so many of them, if they had that job taken away from them, what would we have missed? 100%. Dreaming My Dreams with Waylon. Of course, he didn't write all that stuff, but he he was in charge of his career
Yeah.
and his song selection. Hotel California, The Long Run, the Eagles, all of the James Taylor songs, what would we have missed out on if a record executive had gotten his hands on the controls? And again, it's not to say that you don't want feedback. If feedback is is the immediate people around you. What do you think and what do you hear?
The people that you trust to bounce ideas from.
Yeah. And the people at the record company. Joe, on one album, and I basically turned in the albums. I write them, record them, turn them in, and he would put them out, to his credit. And but one album, he said, he goes, look, these 2 songs, can you please replace them? Just come up with 2 other songs, And I did. I got rid of those 2 songs. Can't even remember what they were. But it was the One Emotion album at Summer's Coming. And so I put the other 2 on there. And he wanted me to rewrite the second verse to Like the Rain. So, okay, I'm not a total jerk here, but yeah, so I want to have a partnership. But it was tough. And maybe it wasn't helped by the fact that I was gone all the time. There was no sitting around a table talking, that wasn't happening a lot. Probably happens more now with labels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And any relationships I have, it happens. And people have my phone number. Back then we didn't have cell phones, but, there's a story in the book of when I went by the record company just by myself one day, and what happened as a result of that from my manager, would shock anyone today. Yeah, going through that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay out.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, what?
You can't just go over there
to your own label.
It's such an interesting thing, and I think, like you said, the timeliness of that. Like now, you can be on the phone with someone on your label for a 2-hour conference call while you're driving from show to show, but that was not the case back then.
Yeah.
More stuff that I didn't even think of that is so important to the story. Interesting. One of the things too that you talk about, of course, is your frequent co-writer. Was in your band, and you guys wrote most of the early hits. Again, you say you had some co-writers on the later stuff, but why don't you talk a little bit about your guys' relationship?
Well, Hayden was a happenstance encounter, because I'd hired a band I needed for the one gig. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I was solo, and the lead guitarist quit the band. Hayden came in. Hayden reached out to the guy, said, "Hey, I'm in town. I'm looking for work." And the guy goes, "We got this one gig," and so Hayden showed up at the rehearsal, and it was better than anybody I'd ever played with. And so it's like as soon as we're done with rehearsals, "Hey, who are you? What are you doing?" and when he asked what I was doing, I was trying to make a demo. I couldn't afford it. And so he had a way, and we made a deal to make the demos in his garage. And we had demoed Nobody's Home, Nothing's News, Winding Down. Probably half of that first album we had demoed before he just mentioned on a break one night, I write songs too, I go, "What do you got?" So that kicked it off for us. And from that point on, we just made it a craft. I still wrote songs by myself, and but we would make it a point to. And one of our ways of doing it was try to go away somewhere, and we would have like 5 notepads, each with an idea, and we had a really good ratio with that, and wrote ahead of ourselves by like 3 albums at a time. I always had 3 albums worth of new songs every time we went in to cut. And Hayden, in those early demos, we would get the basic part down, the drum part with that TR7 or whatever that torturous drum machine was.
I loved reading about that in the book.
And then Hayden would work on his guitar stuff, and we'd come back and overdub harmonies, and eventually get a steel player and a fiddle player over there. And I got the management deal, got a little bit of money to do that. And it really was the shape of that first album, what we did in his garage. It was kind of like we carried that into the studio and then did it more professionally. Added a few, players in there, but the shape of that album really came out of us torturing Dick Gay with his drum machine and then building those demos, on his 8-track recorder.
So great.
Do you have some of those old demos still around?
Yeah, we have some of those. I've thought about, how would it be to let people hear those.
Yeah, or even like songs that you never cut. Like a lot of younger cats now are cutting, songs that just never got put out. Like, like, I wonder what's in, Dean Dillon's catalog that hasn't been cut yet, or what's in Chris Stapleton's catalog, what's in Clint Black catalog. There's
not really anything. There's one song that we did during COVID that was going to be on that first album. It was a waltz. And when we wrote Walking Away, that became the waltz we most wanted to do. And we weren't going to have two, Yeah. Not two waltzes on one album. We had a rule that we invented. And, trying to have a ratio of fast and slow and one waltz. Mm-hmm. So Walking Away got on there. And then it got forgotten about the next album. And the next album, we had so many songs, it just kept getting left out until... 35 years later, 30 years later, during COVID, that one and one called No One Here For Me that I met before, I wrote before Hayden and I met. But this song, This Old House, I started thinking about the Opry and how that's our old house. And boy, if the walls could talk, the stories they'd tell and all that, which is what the song's about. It's really about the house you grew up in and all the memories. So we cut it and made a video with the Opry let me go into the archives and look and select any footage I wanted to use. And we went and shot down at the Opry, and Ben Boutwell, who really taught me how to operate the editing software, did the video and made photos on the wall come alive. Pictures, became motion pictures and all of that. And had great guests on there, Dirks and Tritt and Steve Warner, Darius and Trace, and just a bunch of great voices to where I sing the opening line and they sing the rest of it until I come back in for the last line. And so I love it so much more because I had sung it, and then I thought it's going to be this. I want to make this about the Opry, and let's get all these other Opry members on there. And once I did that, I never want to hear me sing the whole song again, because their voices just brought so much more to the song than one voice. Hearing them coming in, and they would sing it a little differently, so I got to hear like people interpreting, something, like a Sinatra would.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
One thing I wanted to talk about also is your Opry induction day. I think this is like the single greatest day like any human's ever had, because you got Lisa's phone number at the same day you were inducted into the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah. That's a good story.
Yeah. That's a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was also, we were taping an anniversary special for CBS, so everyone was there. So not only did I get Lisa's number, but all of the hang time on stage, backstage, all of that was with, and this would have been in, was it 91 or 9? It was 90. So, everyone who was alive and mobile, that could be there was there. It was, it was an historic night looking back on it now. and for me, it was just one head turn after the next. Spent a lot of time talking with Gordon Stoker, from the Jordanaires, and just hearing story after story after story. Or who was it? I first forget. I want to say it was Christofferson. That he's got a great sense of humor. So I pick on him and make him laugh anytime I was around him.
Wow.
It was amazing. I mean, imagine in 1990 who all we still had with us.
Yeah. Those walls could talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think your big breakout year was 89, I would say.
Yep.
So you were an Opry member in 91. That's got to be one of the fastest inductions, I feel like. Right? Doesn't that seem really fast?
Probably.
I don't know how they did
know the
back
date
then.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it may have just been the quick rise in popularity.
Yeah.
I think being a wholesome, type of character on the scene, the reverence I showed for everyone there and all of that stuff. I think all of that plays into how they look at you as a prospect, as a member. Yeah, and whether they believe you're going to be a part of it, not just a member, but be a part of it and show up and do things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, being inducted has to be one of the greatest honors that you can have bestowed upon you.
Yeah, because you don't win it.
Right.
A group of who knows who looks over and says, "We like him.
Yeah.
Let's have him in."
Some secret group of people. I don't know who it is, but we had Mark Wills.
They operate out of a basement in West Virginia.
Maybe in a bomb shelter or something. I don't know. But we had Mark Wills come in and talk about what it means for him to be inducted, and he was tearing up. He was just he just loves it so much. It's the coolest. And I've been lucky to play the Opry a number of times, and the first time I was absolutely terrified. I don't know if you were. Were you?
All are.
Okay. Like I was saying, I played steel, and I played well. I went back, and now they have this pristine video and audio. But I could hear my vibrato because my hands are shaking so much.
Yeah, and I try to tell people who are going on for the first time. I pass on the advice that Judge Hay gave to Minnie Pearl when she was nervous her first time, and he said, "Just love them; they'll love you back." And if you can convey to someone going on for the first time that this is the sweetest audience you'll ever play for. They are just the warmest, the best. They're the best. And so don't be afraid. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But I always try just to say, and for us, I don't know if it was the same for you, but 6 minutes went by in 2 minutes.
Oh, for sure.
It was just like that. It's over.
Mm-hmm.
You do 2 songs and it felt like 2 minutes.
When everyone that plays the Opry usually plays 2 or 3 songs, depending.
Yep.
And Mark Will said, he's I always try to play the songs that got me my, invite to the Opry. So he plays Jacob's Ladder. That was one of his earlier songs and his more traditional songs. What are the 2 or 3 songs that you play when you go play the Opry?
Well, I've got Killin Time and Better Man were the first ones I played on there.
Pretty solid 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've done Mama Tried.
Yeah.
Doing something. I wrote a couple of tunes with Haggard, and doing one of those, feels right. Coming up with a cover that's somebody that we all revere so much, who influenced us all, feels great. And from there, it's really tough because I've been doing it for so long. I can go through all my hits and go, I've done all of these. So what can I do? I can repeat that one, or I can pull this album cut up, or whatever. It's just getting harder and harder to figure that out.
Yeah, too many good songs is kind of a good problem to
It's
have,
always
I
been
guess.
great. I remember how it used to be.
Yeah.
Well, let's do Only Daddy. We don't have enough songs.
Yeah. I was telling all my buddies in the band with Luke, and after the show on Saturdays, we get together and drink some beers and kind of go everything. And the openers come in and we sit and talk. And I was talking with Jake Worthington about how I was excited to do this podcast. And he's like, well, you got to ask him about the Haggard song. And so I'd love to hear about what it was like collaborating with your hero.
Well, it was. I sort of barged my way into it. He came by the dressing room. He was, special guest on my first headline tour,
Which is crazy.
which is already
also.
weird.
Yeah.
Weird. And so he came by the dressing room, and I was playing the guitar, and he said, "Oh, can I see that?" And I said, "Yeah." And he starts playing me something. He goes, "Listen to this," and he played me the fragments of the first verse and the chorus of "Untangling My Mind," and it was clear it wasn't finished, but I didn't feel perfectly comfortable saying, that's not quite done, is it? But I had to try and get in on the co-write, and I said, steel guitar hands shaking. If you need any help, finishing that, I'd love to do it. And yeah.
Did that take him? Did you catch him off guard when you said that?
Yeah,
or?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
You had to shoot your shot.
Yeah, I did, and
Yeah.
it worked. And he 3 days we were apart. He was off doing his own shows, and we had days off. And so when we came back for the next show, his tour manager came by the dressing room and goes, "Here," handed me a cassette tape and a lyric sheet, and the cassette tape was a board tape from a sound check from one of our days off, and so you hear everybody milling around, usual sound check noises, and then you'd hear Merle, tuning his guitar, he'd be playing that drop D E string, but he'd be singing with it, you're tuning it up, he's just getting his baritone notes warmed up, and then all of a sudden, like a wind up turntable, he would start, "Glad to see I'm finally leaving," and he would sing what he had that he played me in the dressing room, and then he would stop and be some background noise, and then some he'd be tuning or something again, and then he'd do it again, and he did it about 3 or 4 times, and so that was the tape I got and the lyrics that he had. So I spent the next 3 days trying to write the missing parts, the second verse, and coming up with stuff for the chorus. And when I finished it, I gave the lyric sheet back to his tour manager, and about 3 days after that, he and Merle came in the dressing room, and the band was there. We were all sitting around. It was a nice dressing room with regular living room furniture, no stains, just good furniture. And so we're all sitting around, and here comes Haggard, and he just floats that lyric sheet down onto the coffee table. And I said, "What did you think?" And he goes, "Oh, I'd give it an A- because of one word." And I knew what he meant. I was just a spot in there that I couldn't quite figure out. And I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Well, which one would you use?" And I think that caught him off guard, but maybe not, because he had that word like that. He goes, "Oh, I don't know, be leaving." It was like, oh, God, yeah, of course, that's it. It couldn't have been anything else. And so that was it. That was done. And one other time he came by the dressing room and picked up my guitar and played. It's just him and me sitting there. And he goes, "Last night I dreamed I was a kid again. And I said, all the things I used to do, I went and did again." And he goes, "Oh, I like that." I go, "Yeah, let's write that one." He goes, "Okay." And so I think we had all the things I used to do. I went and did again. Spent the afternoon with my best and closest friend, wandering through the days we thought would never end. And we never got back together again and finished it. And Hayden and I were writing some songs for the Christmas album. And I got a hold of Haggard and asked if he minded. Hayden and I wrote that as a Christmas song. So it's called The Kid. It's on my Christmas collection. And you can hear them all in it. You know, it's just so much. And same with Untangling My Mind. Untangling My Mind, he did an interview. He recorded that on a subsequent album. And they asked him about my version. He goes, yeah, he went and ruined it, you know, made a ballad out of it. And which is his way. He's a kidder, you know. And,
Sure.
but I was doing it the way he did it. And then I think just out of boredom or just being Merle, you know, and changing things up. I'm not going to do it like he did it. He did it as a shuffle. Mm-hmm. You know, without most of the minor chords and everything. And so it's like, well, that's the way I want to do it, you know. And I did it that way a couple of times, but the other version, my version had been a hit. So,
Yeah.
you know, they didn't want to hear, they wanted to hear the hit. And so I had to revert back to the original.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a little bit of a jarring, you know, professional sort of like one-upsmanship a little bit maybe there.
I love it. And I know
That's
you
a
talk
great
about
story, man.
Thanks.
such a
I
great
was getting
it's-
chills just listening to that.
It was great to
Yeah.
live it.
I couldn't even
awesome.
imagine. There's a lot of stuff
Yeah.
in this book. I'm just like reading this. I'm like, it's full
Yeah.
of incredible stories.
We don't,
Yeah.
and things that I would have never dreamed up, you know. I mean, I didn't go in and go, one day I want to work with Haggard, or I'm going to sing on a George Jones track, or, you know, you just don't think that way. The first person I met when I came to town was Mel Tillis. You don't, you know, I didn't go, you know, I can't wait to meet Mel, you know, or go to lunch with Waylon. It just wouldn't have entered my mind, you know.
Yeah, or flirt with Jodie Foster in a movie, you know, or like whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What? Hang out with Mel
Excuse
Gibson
me?
and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like I'm reading this stuff. I'm like, you've led an incredible life.
Yeah, recently I reconnected with Mel, and when he was in town over the Thanksgiving holidays,
In Nashville?
yeah, some of his kids live here,
Oh,
and he goes, "Hey, I'm in town. I'm out at my son's. You know, if you want to come join us for dinner." So I went out. You know, it's a great time, great
Yeah.
food, sitting around. He goes, "Hey, we're gonna." After dinner, we're a bunch of us are going to go over to Kid Rock's. You want to go? We go, you know. So now I'm driving in my car. I got Mel, his wife's in the back, and I'm driving us over to Kid Rock's White House. You know.
yeah. He literally lives in a White House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, never in a million years have I think, you know, be crazy if this happened one day. You just no.
Yeah. Well, call us the next time you're doing that. We'll show up.
We'll come hang out at the White House too.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, again, things that you don't think about dreaming about. Like, for example, I know in the book you talk about getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You know, as
Yeah.
a country music singer, there's probably not that many on there. And can we talk about that a little bit too? And even how you're, you know, before you moved full time to Tennessee, how you kind of like lived California in here.
Yeah, Lisa, when we met, she was living out there since she was 18 or 19, and so we had her house, and I'd bought a house up on Old Hickory, and we were back and forth, but she had to be there more than I had to be here. So whenever I had, you know, time off, I would go out there. She'd be shooting a movie or something, and so it was a lot of hanging out. Got to know Eric Idle of Monty Python and Kevin Nealon and Gary Shandling. So those guys and would go to dinner parties, you know, with a bunch of comedians and comedy writers, or over to Eric's for dinner, and George Harrison's there, and we jam on Beatles songs. And
That chapter's
you know,
awesome.
just
That chapter is so awesome.
just it was the best version of how you would think of Hollywood with dinner parties. It was the best, most fun version of that I could imagine. I don't know if they're any stuffy unfun dinner parties out there. But, going over to Kevin Nealon's for dinner and playing games, with, Carrie Fisher's right here and Gary Shandling's over there. And, all these comedy writers that you may not know of who are behind the scenes comedy people, and playing these games that are designed for laughs and with geniuses, comic geniuses, just like, of course, the Eric Idle dinner parties, basketball on Sundays over at Gary's. It was the best of what I can imagine Hollywood, of everybody else's dinner parties or basketball games would be. It was the best version, I think, of that. And then when our daughter was born, we wanted to be in one place, and so we sold that house out there and got a place in town in Nashville. It was too far up on Old Hickory, on the north side of Old Hickory, between Johnny Cash's house and Roy Orbison's house. That's where we were, and it was just too far. So we moved to town, and still go out there a good bit. But the Star Walk, that was back before our daughter was born. And not one of those things you strive for, think of.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll get that star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So it was just one of those, good grief. What am I doing here, And Bob Hope sent a telegram, welcoming me to, and Thursdays are your days to sweep. So...
So great.
It's just, it's pretty crazy. And, I'm not out there enough to go do any of those things. Of course, we lost Gary in 2016, I think, Shandling. I miss those dinner parties and basketball games.
Sure.
I mean, that's part of being a father, is sort of like sacrificing a little bit of your freedom to raise a child.
Yeah.
And I think doing it in Tennessee's a good place, probably versus LA. I mean, I don't really know, but
no, we love it here. And, of course, we're both from Houston, and we get down there a lot. Just went down and celebrate my mom's 90th birthday.
That's great.
It's just hard to believe. But this is a great town, great people here, and everything I did, any change I made, because I was a dad, is better than everything else I've ever been given or earned. Just being a dad.
You can tell by reading the book that it's
100%.
The way you write about Lisa and Lily, it comes out in the pages.
Thanks.
Yes.
Well, you have to know what's most important, and a relationship with my daughter, with my wife, of course, nearly 35 years we've been married. But that's something we both come together and we work on our marriage, and we're in love and all of that. But a kid can grow tired of you. That's a whole different thing. They can just think you're totally wrong and not listen to anything, or not like you enough to be around you, and you can't make them. It's not something they didn't vow. I vow, like we did with our marriage. I vow, I vow to come over to the house, and hang out with y'all. So the idea that she does that, and she comes around, and she'll come and just spend the night at the house and do all that. That's a product of the time that we put in, and that's for any of you kids out there listening, that's the best investment you'll ever make.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like Kurt said, you can hear that in the book, and I think one of my favorite chapters was when you were talking about bringing the whole family on the road for the tour.
Yeah.
Your daughter taking the gap year. One of the questions we had, did she ever finish?
No,
I didn't think she did. Yeah,
it wasn't
we were
for
talking
her.
about that.
I'm also a Belmont dropout.
Yeah.
So we have that in common.
Yeah, it's She's writing songs. She's doing co-writes. She's doing writers' rounds and all of that stuff. She's learning the recording software, and she can do that with Dad's help and a couple of her buddies who know things.
You got to get her to come play around.
Yeah, we have a writers round every other Tuesday at the local. I'd love to have her on.
All right, I'll tell her.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah.
it's pretty okay deal in Nashville. Yeah,
Yeah,
the kids like
Pretty
it.
okay. There's that medium praise.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a good time, and there's a good turnout, and the local's a cool spot too.
Yeah,
So
it's a great
not on
bar.
Broadway.
Owned by a songwriter, and just it's about the music there, which is great.
Yeah, that's, I talk in the book about playing places where people aren't there to listen. And I've seen some videos of friends, that was shot when she was doing a round and everyone talking. And I thought, my daughter is going through exactly what I went through. She's experiencing this from the ground up with people who will talk while she's singing, and she's pushing through it. It's not going to stop her.
It's gonna make her better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure she's not like, "Hi everybody, Clint Black's my dad, so pay attention to me." Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, she's probably not that way.
no.
And I have, there's other artists in town whose parents are, or stars. So, and they all kind of keep it on the DL because they want to.
She feels funny saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like if something gets awkward where she has to say it, then she says it meekishly, and just offers it up humbly, and of course the reaction can be, what? Why didn't you tell us that? And she goes, well, that's, we don't lead with other people, lead with yourself.
yeah,
Totally. And I think it's like just learning how to control a room just with your own music and not, your
Be
folks or
real.
whatever.
Yeah, have a real experience, and not one that came out of you being a curiosity.
yeah.
And celebrity is often, you're a curiosity. I mean, people may love you, but there is a factor there where it's like, well, I've got to see now. I don't know if I put it in the book now. We took some things out, but when I first got the house on Old Hickory, several wives of Garth's band showed up at my door at 8 a.m. and hi, we're so-and-so, and our husbands play with Garth, and maybe there was somebody else that husband was in another band, but oh, hi, I'm barely awake. I'm a musician. 8 a.m. is the middle of the night. I said, hi, and they go, hi. So we just came by to see if you're really nice. You could learn a lot more at 2 p.m.
You're like, I am. See y'all later.
Yeah. See you guys in 4 hours.
What a trip.
Not as nice as 8 a.m.
This was probably a while ago. I feel like people don't just go up and knock on doors
No.
recently.
Yeah, this was 90.
Yeah.
Yeah, 90, 91. Or it was early 91.
I remember those days.
I have a whole list of different interesting, fun, crazy things that are in the book. I don't want to go through all of them, but there are a couple, it's like, I know your music, and the cool thing about this book is it sort of contextualizes everything so you get the story and who helped you with this stuff. But there's some personal stuff in here that I didn't know, like you ending up in jail. Like,
why do we have to go there?
hey, it's in the book.
I don't understand. Oh, it's in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ended up in jail for 9 days, and it was really, really frightening, and then it became really surreal.
Yeah.
And don't want to give it away to the reader because it's a really good story of what happened. But basically, I'm in the felon tank, sharing a cell with a murderer, and suddenly that murderer becomes my first agent. and my whole life in those 9 days in jail is just nothing. If you put it in a movie, people would call BS on it.
Right.
Say, yeah, that would never happen.
Especially like I'm reading this book, and I don't think of you as someone that would be in jail. especially hanging out with a murderer.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
And
It's
a horse thief just in the next door sale.
Yeah.
Sale. He was in the sale next door. It was wrong place at the wrong time. A house had been being watched. We were dropping my brother off. They were getting some stuff, a motorcycle and a truck to take back home. But this house had been the target of like a drug bust. They didn't find any drugs, and all the charges were dropped. But it was like they were sure of this, and there were 3 different agencies, police, sheriff, and some watching this place, and it was big news. Of course, when it all went away, there was no news. You know,
That's how it works.
And I was outcast, by friends' parents and stuff. But it was a serious takedown. Gun to your head, get out of the car type of takedown. And very, very scary.
Terrifying.
And,
especially that young.
The interrogation of yours truly, I was sure they were going to beat the hell out of me. I just knew the one guy who lost his temper. It could have been off theatrics, but it felt like I was about to get beaten
Good
down.
Cop, bad cop, for sure. That's absolutely crazy. I loved reading that. And there's so much stuff in this book that's incredible. One other thing that I never would have guessed is that you worked on, we talked about how hardworking you are and how you pick up things and you see them to fruition, but it's like you working on stand-up comedy.
Yeah. Back before Brinson, and I can make Brinson laugh, my manager. But the manager I had before Brinson and I met he was the Ed McMahon of management, I think. He was a big laugher, John Barrick. And John, we were in a meeting, and we got this show where Secret Talents of the Stars, where, whatever it is that people don't know that you do. And John immediately goes, "Oh, you have to do stand-up comedy." And I thought, I'm not doing that. And then I thought, maybe I could. And then that terrible feeling in my stomach of, I think I'm going to agree to do this. And I agreed to do it. And then I wrote material. I worked out in the comedy clubs, did well sometimes, bombed others. And I had to come up with 2 minutes of material. And it wasn't easy. 2 minutes of solid material. I wrote about 12 minutes of material and worked it out and refined it down. And then I'll leave the ending of the story for the reader. But it was, I would never do it again. That's the short answer.
Well,
I would never do that
right
again.
now, but maybe not.
I'm a sit-down comic now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
less
right.
pressure.
There was this bar when I was living in Boston that, I'm in college and broke. And this hotel that was like a Howard Johnson's, like a lower tier hotel, had a little tiki bar in it. And it was an affordable place in Boston to go drink. And so my buddies and I, if we're going to a Red Sox game, we'd go have a couple beers there. And they had stand-up comedy there, like open mic night. And I've always thought in my head, like, these people over here are like, they're not funny at all, and they're getting laughs. Like, I could do this. And then one day I'm like, I'm going to do this. And so I sat down. I'm like, okay. Nope, I'm not doing it. I don't know. I started on like, I can't. I don't understand like the anatomy of a joke, how it's, and like you're friends with all these comedians. So you could like call up Conan O'Brien or something and be like, what do you think? Or I don't understand.
Yeah, well, I would do that with Nealon, and when Nealon and I would talk on the phone, a lot of times he would be doing stuff that he was working on, and
that's so cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. I would go with him to comedy clubs, to Comedy Magic Club, and he'd be working out material, and I'd also, saying things to Gary Shandling, and Gary'd go, "That's hilarious." And by the time he finished saying "that's hilarious," he'd rewritten the joke, and he would come back with it. And And so I studied comedy as a viewer by watching things over and over and over and over again. So I had kind of a handle on it, but it's like a muscle. It's like playing guitar. You better do it all the time, and even then, you're gonna have to get lucky.
Yeah.
But watching those guys work on jokes, you get a sense, and when I've had to sit down and write jokes, work on jokes, the best things come from ad-libbing in front of an audience. But I can sit down and write a joke now. I can come up with it, but the other element to it is doing it on stage, delivering it well, relaxed. Because if you're nervous, people aren't going to be quick to laugh. They're going to feel nervous too,
Totally.
So you have to have it all together. So and if you wrote something, this is good, but it's not quite there, but it's good, and you're going to do it, and when it doesn't work, the impact that has on the next thing you try, it's like you're in a horror movie and you're the one being chased,
You're in
scary. Yeah, and everything after that becomes the shaking, pedal steel guitar hands,
Yeah.
So it's not just a matter of being able to write a joke, I can write a joke and do it in my show, and it's easier because they don't expect anything,
Yeah.
But
The
these
bar's
people in a
little lower.
bar, you better be funny.
Yeah.
You're going to hear about it right now live.
Yeah, we went and
great.
saw a bunch of comedians at the Mothership in Austin. We were playing down there. And, they take your phones and put it in this pouch. And so you can't look at your phone or whatever, can't record, so they can use the material on their tours or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just a completely different art form. And as a, spectator, it's so awesome to be sort of just away from the world and just totally focused on, like whoever it came out. But when someone bombs and you can't hide in your phone and like scroll and you just have to watch them, it's like nails on a chalkboard. It's like the secondhand embarrassment of cringe. You know what I mean? But then Ron White came out and slayed, and he was so funny.
Yeah, but you don't want to watch somebody get in a car wreck and have their,
Yes.
their flesh ripped open.
In super slow motion HD, that's what it's like.
So crazy.
And writing 2 minutes is a short time in song terms, because that's one, verse and a chorus, and maybe sing the chorus twice. It's like, but in comedy time, that's an eternity.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for comedians. I've always wanted to try it, but I'm too afraid. So
It's frightening. It's, it's not for everyone. And I love hearing the comedians talk about it. Jerry Seinfeld. You remember the guy that played Jerry on Seinfeld?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was watching a podcast, and that's one of the guys said that. The guy Jerry. Watching him talk about it in the anatomy of a joke or the work that goes into it, or Ray Romano. There's a show that was called The Green Room, I think, where they were sitting around talking about it. It's fascinating to me. It's the enigma. You get a little peek into how this one or that one's mind works, how they arrive at the material and the way they do it, and how many. Seinfeld has all of the jokes he's written. They're all written down, going back to the first joke he did when he first went up on stage the first time. Wow. And can you imagine just being able to look back on every joke you've written?
That'd be a book one day.
I can't even find all the guitars I own. I'm under my bed. I'm like, oh, that's where that's been this whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the things with the book that I think is really good is, the world that I live in is oftentimes with like younger artists and people that are just trying to figure it out. We often see people's first writers rounds or first time playing with full bands. I think you have so much great insight in there about like how to do it or how you did it, and I think that's something that when someone reads this book, they will have insight from someone that did it at an extremely high level and is still doing it, and just like how you've done it. I think that's in my opinion, like one of the things I got out of this, I'm like, man, I would love to pass this on to artists that I've, have asking me questions.
ClintBlack.com, send them to.
Yeah, get the book.
That's great. Thank you. I think if the one thing that I would love for them to take from this book is that it's really hard for everyone. No matter what you think happened and how quickly you think it happened, it was really hard.
Yeah.
And it was really, I talk about the chili, making a bowl of chili last like it's a full meal.
Adding ketchup to it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for everyone. And what I always tell young artists is this has to be the only thing you want. This has to be it. If you're thinking about this other thing that you could go do, you should go do that. Because if this isn't it, if you're walking around with a parachute on, you're not going to be able to get through this. This has got to be it. Going into battle, it's do or die. And if I die, then I'll think about, my death. And that's the only way you can get through the lean years and the rejection that it takes to get in your 10,000 hours. And, and reading my story, there's just a fraction of, what all happened and what it took. But hopefully it really conveys that this is the common path.
Yeah.
This is how it goes. If it went another way for anyone, they're so far an outlier that, to even hope that happens for you, much less expect it to happen, is a fool's errand. This is the common way. It took me about 10 years, and it's a 10-year town, they say, and it takes longer than that too.
Yep.
So that, to me, when I was getting going, I mentioned all the books I read trying to get insight into this business. I would have loved to have at least had a sense, and maybe they would have helped me. Maybe it wouldn't have. Maybe I would have said, "Oh, I can't go through that," But I think it can be reassuring to someone who's 5 years in, and it's been really hard to know that I was 5 years in with no food. I was eating Kraft macaroni and cheese for dinner, and that's more common.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that.
There's so much, I think, for younger artists to pull from this book. Like
100% agree.
Music business stuff, which we could talk about for hours. I'm not going to keep you here all day.
Save your money, kids. Lawyers cost a lot of money.
Yeah, to say the absolute least.
I would love to touch on your record label that you started. And I know you talk in the book pretty extensively about, some deals, there people that you were fighting with at the labels and different times like that. But why don't you talk about that and kind of the dream that you had with it and, the success of, the band that you talk about. I'll let you kind of.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go I had 3 major labels who were interested in me after I left RCA, and their prerequisite was, we'll find you songs. And yeah. Well, thank you, no. And so I just wasn't going to do anything. I was working on new music, and I told my then manager, just if you think of anything, let me know. I'm not going to do those. But I'll be finished with an album soon. And he came up with the idea of starting a label. And I didn't want to do it if anyone was going to be treated how I was treated. And not just with the creative controls and all of that, but also the transparency and, having a future so that if they use you up and spit you out, you're not broke. You have some equity. Hence the name of the company. You have some ownership, and so that's what I did. I couldn't say everything in the book because the legal department of the publisher, just said, look, we'd really like to keep you out of court. But it was not done right. I was way too busy, not enough of a businessman to really affect anything with the company. I was gone too much, too inexperienced with running a business. So, when the band We Broke, Little Big Town, we got them nominated for awards and sold over 1 million records. And they left us right after that and went to Capitol. And it was it was impossible at that point to get my partners to hang in there with me and keep it going. We had made some of the changes because when Big Trouble was spotted, we started really doing a forensic study of what was going wrong, and I had some people who had invested who were smarter than me who came in and looked at the situation, and so changes were being made, but they were our biggest act. And when they left, it was doomed, and then it was like you ever wonder how hard it is to just shut down a company?
No.
Way harder.
I would have never imagined it was as hard as it was to just shut it down. It was years of work and. I can't even describe it. There are just so many business tentacles that had to be, rolled up, and you can't just shut it down. It was really difficult.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I think the idea was really great, and but best intentions sometimes don't always work out.
It was the #1 independent label of that year. It was very successful, except for losing our big act.
Yeah.
It was.
It's a grueling industry in general.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Even when it's going right, it's still hard.
Yep.
Yeah. And it gave me a little more appreciation for all the other record companies and the one I was with, and that they were running a business. And I didn't forgive them for the auditing arm wrestling matches, but. I have more appreciation for these people who can do it successfully now.
Yeah.
And time heals all wounds, so
For sure.
most of them.
Some
Except for tax stuff.
Still a few ruptured vertebrae that won't heal.
Well, that's in the book too.
Yeah.
Of course, so.
You see, the version you have didn't have the photo insert. Look at the photo insert in there, and
I know there's a page in the book.
have a gasp.
Okay, let me see here. Oh, look at you, little kid. Probably towards the end, I would assume. Wedding photos. There's the star. There's the. Is this the cognac from the 1800s?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
it's so great.
Yeah, that's from the 1700s. That's not mine.
Oh, there it is, 1778. Same year the U.S. Constitution was ratified.
We do have a question. We're cigar guys. You still ever smoke a cigar?
No, I
gave
got
that
caught
up?
up in the rave, and people were giving me, I see all that hardware in my neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Still in there, I assume?
Oh, yeah. 2 of those are artificial discs, and thank God for
yeah.
them.
I mean, you're just walking around regular. I never would have noticed if I hadn't read your book.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That list of surgeries, I was like,
oh
whoa.
my God, it was
Yeah.
like a whole page of surgeries.
That's 1/3 of them.
Oh man.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
There's internal wincing going on that nobody has to see, but no, I'm lucky that these things happened starting in 2004 because the treatments and surgeries, the advancements that were made were much better
Yes.
than 40 years ago.
100%.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. If you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad you made it through all that. Because
Yeah,
it's like
thanks.
reading about it. It's like, ooh. I
Yeah.
thought about the other day. Like, there's a skateboard shop by my house that I walked by when I was going to a concert, and then I thought about your book, and I'm like, I better not. I'm not that balanced.
Yeah, with all the skateboard, 2 concussions, but the riding the bikes, I was crazy on bicycles.
Mm-hmm.
Motorcycle wrecks too, but not as much.
Yeah, Dirks is big in the bike thing too. I've seen him cruising around.
So through, of course, like going through your life and writing a book, has it made you think about anything even more in depth about like your legacy and what you hope to give to people, through this book and through, of course, the life that you've lived?
Nope.
No,
I'm kidding.
You're like, not at all. Yeah,
no, I'm done with the giving thing. No, I had already been on that journey. When I turned 60, I started thinking about, I own my own publishing. There's the master recordings, and then there's my daughter, and what am I going to burden her with in terms of what she will have to manage of all that. So I'd already been on this journey of decision making for that part of my legacy, and beyond that, with the fans and all of that, I think writing the book is telling the most memorable portion of my story. The music is, I think, finding its own legacy, through the streaming and, younger artists like Luke and Ernest and, just pointing back to us. Yeah. The way we pointed back to the generation before us, so that their fans who are discovering them, that maybe didn't grow up on my era, are looking over. And I can tell by the streaming numbers, there's an increase there. And I did a festival show. Megan Maroney and I were on it, and crowded around the front of the stage were, a bunch of teenage girls. And, I joked that they're all FaceTiming with their dad going, and what is he doing? He's saying what? And who is this guy, Dad? So, festivals, the streaming, doing collabs, all of that stuff is kind of doing its own part with the legacy stuff. I have my display at my exhibit at the Hall of Fame, that'll run for the next year plus. People who bring their kids, families who come through, and just every generation of country music lover comes through and learns a lot about it, country music at the 100%. Hall of Fame and museums. So I try not to be active in that sort of pushing my legacy thing. It's just I can tell my story, make my music, do the shows, but it doesn't feel like my place,
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things you talk about in the book is that that the work stands for itself at the end of the time.
You hope, yeah, you just hope. I mean, I was lucky. I mean, I was with RCA for like 11 years, from 89 to 01, I think is when I left. And I was lucky to have all the hits I had. Those have sustained a career. I've been 25 years an independent artist, and I can tour all I want and play only venues I'd like to play. And, get on all the great podcasts.
That's right. Wow.
And, so that's a product of a time that was, contentious for me and stressful at times. And it has sustained me through, all these years of being able to, be right there in the middle.
Always. I'd like to wrap up a little bit, if it's okay. If I read this quote from a book that I just absolutely love, you're talking about legacy and the ending of it. You said, if I'm remembered beyond my years, I would hope it's because I cared more about the music than the money or fame. They all feed one another, but one must come first. All my favorite artists refused to bend a knee to commercialism and instead created music that became commercial, thus setting the standard for those of us who followed. That's badass. If the music business has another renaissance coming, it'll be brought to us by a generation who makes music for music's sake and record companies that will let them be. It's great. I love it.
Oh, thanks.
I'm a musician and my girlfriend's an artist and she's a singer, and it's a tough industry, but I think that this is a beautiful sentiment to close the book on.
Thank you.
And it's a great book, so everyone, well, they're going to get anyway, but
Hey,
look at that thing. Yeah, go check it out. And we appreciate you coming on and spending an
Thanks
hour
for
with
having
us
me. I
today.
enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Thank
same
you.
too. This is
This
one of
is
the
as
coolest
much
things.
fun as I can have talking about myself.
Yeah.
I know. Well, we appreciate you.
We appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.